Now our compost bins are doing actually okay. Now we had our first delivery of the year of freshly mown grass from our local landscape gardener, and it was about 8 bags of freshly mowed grass, and it was a lot. Now the whole idea of us having multiple different compost bays was to be able to spread the amount of grass throughout the different bays. But the reality of life, my husband likes to fill these compost bays with random different stuff, which when I was trying to spread out the grass between the bays a little bit so we don't put too much in at a time, I had nowhere else for it to go. But as you can see, this is the freshly cut grass from the local gardens pretty much. Now there's a layer of browns, which would be, well, for us at the moment, it's leaves and hay, old hay that we don't need, and also brown paper and cardboard is what we're using. And at this time of the year, it starts getting harder and harder to actually get browns. But I can tell already the temperature here, it's very, very warm. Now this bay there's been a small amount of it in this bay for a few months now, since I think it was probably January or February when we finished building this particular bay. So I did actually turn it over just to mix some of the items back together. Now we're also using our chicken coop bedding, our wood chip, chicken poop, all that kind of thing in there. So we're not actually wasting anything with the chickens. Now I'm hoping that this starts actually getting quite hot. We normally work with reasonable heat in our compost bins. Now this is quite large. This is 2 pallets across by 1 pallet depth. So it should be big enough to actually do what our needs. Now this is just one of 3 on this particular side of the allotment. Once this has been filled to the top, sank back down, and then refilled probably 2 to 3 times, it will actually be left. Then we'll move on to the right hand side and we'll do the same with that. Hopefully the right hand side will not take as long to actually fill, because we should be in the height of the growing season and we'll have plenty of greens to actually go into the bins, and that will give us our compost for the year. Now we have got 3 bays at the top of the allotment as well, which are slightly smaller, and these will be spread and filled as well. We have so many because it's so expensive, and because we do no dig, you need a good amount of compost throughout the year. Now I'm not talking tons, and you could buy in what you need. Why waste your money when you can actually recycle used items to actually remake your compost for your plot and your needs? Being a little bit clever, asking local neighbours, gardeners and other people for green waste, you can really bulk up your compost making projects. So on top of that first delivery of grass that we had, later that day we actually had, I think it was 15, 16 dump bags of freshly cut grass. Now the dump bags are the big builders dump bags, so it was an awful lot of grass. But we layered our greens and our browns and filled it right to the top. So one of the ways we deal with using large amounts of cardboard and brown paper and things, it gets really tiring on your hands after a bit, especially when you're dealing with large amounts. So we actually start soaking our cardboard to actually help soften it. And we'll put it into this is a wheelie bin full of water. Makes it so much easier, and it just falls apart, making it easier to tear up. And then this will go on as our brown layer onto our compost bin, which will help with all the grass cuttings that we're actually putting on at the moment. So I've just about to put some chicken coop manure and wood shavings on. This will go on top, and then our next layer of grass. It also helps with the moisture content of the compost bin as well. The cardboard doesn't steal any moisture from the compost bay if it's already wet, keeping the compost bay nice and moist to be able to decompose. And that is probably about the 8th layer of grass and cardboard, brown paper and anything else brown in between. That will actually drop down within a couple of days, a week at the most, and then we'll start topping up again. It's quite amazing really how quickly it really does start sinking down. This heap now is about 2 days old, if that, and it's gone, and it's actually sank down quite a lot. As you can see, it was actually over the actual edge of the compost, and it sank down an awful lot. I would say 1.5 to 2 foot. And this is why you continuously keep topping up your compost bins, because as it gets hot and starts the decomposing, it all starts sinking down really quickly. And if you don't keep topping up for a short space of time until it stops sinking, you'll end up with a lot less compost than what you could have done if you just topped it up the once and then left it. You really can cram your materials into your compost bay so you get as much as what you can out of the space that you have. Now, I haven't got a temperature probe, but if I just move some of this, you can see the steam coming off of it already. Now, obviously this was fresh green waste product basically. Now, there is a risk using so much grass that it can turn to a slimy mess. But if you can mix it up with browns, it will stop it going into a mat. Now, I can tell that that compost heap is extremely hot, which in one way it's good, in another way it's not great. I'm happy to run a hot compost bay because we get green waste material and we don't know what seeds are in that grass or any cuttings or clippings that we actually get. But there are ideal temperatures to actually have your compost bay. Now, this will run hot for as long as we keep adding all the green stuff in for a few days after each one. And then it will settle down to a much better temperature to actually start breaking down to make good compost. As I've said in previous videos, we actually make our own Comfrey tea, and because the allotment has got so much comfrey growing up all over the place, and to us it's a problematic weed because it's growing in places we do not want it to grow. It's all through the beds, it's all through the paths, it's everywhere. So just keep that in mind if you have comfrey, that it can spread, especially if it's the seeded type that does spread. Now, I don't know what type this is. It was here when we first took the plot, but it is literally everywhere. But the bonus, as we keep digging it out, because you'll never get the whole root out, it's damn near impossible, but you can take advantage of this free harvest. We make comfrey tea. Comfrey tea is basically steeping comfrey leaves in a load of water. Now, it stinks. So this is the comfrey tea. Now, most of this has rotted down because this is from last year, and it's not as pongy as it was last year, but as you can see, it's full of like a scum. All this is really good bacteria. So all you have to do with the comfrey tea is you just leave it to rot down, and then when it's ready, it'll be a nice dark brown, and it will all have pretty much disintegrated. You can then add it diluted to your watering can to feed your plants and fruit on your allotment. It's always great when you can use something for free with just a small amount of effort. But this stuff will actually feed the whole plot for over a year, but we will make a fresh batch. You can also make it out of nettles and other weeds as well. It's called a Jadam method, and it's been used for a long centuries to actually grow and feed your plants. It's like a superfood, but for your plants.